Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Inside the Mirror podcast. I'm your host, Kyle David. If you didn't know, now you know. Hey, this week I want to talk about something that's been on my mind. It has been on my mind for a while, and I process it frequently. And it's something that I go back and forth on because I'm not great at it. But what I want to talk about is holding things loosely. Holding things loosely. The reason being is because most of us, myself included, go through life with a tight grip on what we want and what we think should happen. And then we're disappointed because life is unpredictable and there's a lot of surprises in this thing. So talking here about holding things loosely. And I think that goes for anything in life, right? Like whether it's relationships, jobs, visions for your future, etc. Right? Like our health, right? We hold things so tightly, but really, all we're doing is setting ourselves up for disappointment, right? Because you can't predict the future, and so when you hold something so tightly, and you just can't let it go, the moment something changes or you lose something, you either are hurt, frustrated, angry, upset, disappointed, because you set yourself up for that. I've done it plenty of times, right? Holding things so tightly that when anything changes, your whole world is shattered, right? Like I said, relationships, jobs, where you thought you would be in life, etc. You have to hold those things looser because life is unpredictable. Things change. God may have different plans, all of the above. And so when you hold things so tightly, you are setting yourself up to be disappointed. And I'm not saying don't care about things, right? I care about almost everything in my life, my family, my relationships, my job, my health. I do tend to hold it very tightly. But I've been through enough things at this point in my life where I've learned the tighter you hold on to things, you set yourself up for disappointment. Like I said, you create a lot of stress in your life when you hold something so tightly because you are always worried that something's going to change or it's not going to go the way that you've planned. So you have less enjoyment. And honestly, when you hold things too tightly, you can hold yourself back from other relationships, other lessons you're supposed to be learning in your life, things God is trying to show you or teach you. But because you're holding this thing so tightly, whatever it is, he's not able to show you what he wants to show you because you just have this death grip on whatever the thing is that you're holding on to very tightly. Right. So for me, right, like I've held on to things way too tightly at points in my life. I was engaged before. I held on to that so tightly that when my engagement failed and it didn't work, my whole world was completely shattered for years. Right. And I'm not saying that wasn't a very intense experience that really affected me, but if I would have not that I didn't put everything into that, but if I would have had other relationships in my life, what happened there is I only had relationship with that person. I didn't have other friends in my life. I didn't have good community in my life. It was the only relationship I really was invested in at that point. So when that got pulled away, I had nothing else. I had put it on a pedestal. I held it way too tightly. Again, you should be super invested in that. But if you are only all in on one thing ever, job, relationship, dream, etc., if that thing changes, you have nothing else and you just set yourself up for massive disappointment. So I've done that with other things too, right? Like even my job, my current job. A lot of I work at Leader. We're a startup. We're growing. There's tons of opportunity, but I've held it so tightly at times where I'm like, if this doesn't work or I don't get what I want out of this, I'm gonna be devastated, and that's just not healthy, right? I've created a lot of stress for myself. I don't always get to enjoy it because I'm so worried about if it works, if I'm gonna get all the things that I want from it, and I hold it so tightly when what if God at some point has another opportunity for me? But this is the only thing I'm open to because I've put all my eggs in this basket. And I've it's a control thing, really, right? Like if we all were to do an inventory of the things we hold tightly, it's we just are searching for control of our lives, which is a losing situation to put yourself in, because life doesn't ask you for your input all the time. Just reality, right? So again, we myself included, we have to do a better job of having a plan, being in on the things we're in on, but also realizing things can change at a moment's notice. And that just because it doesn't feel comfortable doesn't mean it's not good, right? That's what I've learned, is just because something in the moment doesn't go according to my plan or the way I wanted it to, and then I feel confused or lost or whatever, that doesn't mean it's not the right thing, right? We want to understand everything and know everything ahead of time and plan the future out and know this is the right thing. You will always be stressed in that type of mindset. You don't get to know all the future. You don't get to understand everything, right? We have finite minds. We are 7.7 billion people on a spinning rock that we don't even fully understand. And we're all running through life trying to understand everything, all the good things, all the bad things. We want to know the future. We want to know why this happened, why that didn't happen. You just don't get to know. You don't get to know everything in life. And I struggle with it. You probably struggle with it. Most humans do, right? We are controlling by nature. But the happiest people I know hold a loose grip on their surroundings, their situations, their relationships. They hold a loose grip on it because they know things can change in an instant. And if they do, that was probably the right thing anyways, even if you don't understand it at the time, right? At the time, I did not understand why my relationship didn't work out. And it was devastating because I held it so tightly. I just didn't understand. And I was so, but now that I look back, it makes total sense. And it was absolutely the best thing for myself and for her. But at the time I didn't understand. So I felt frustrated and angry, and I had nothing to fall back on because all my eggs were in that basket. My whole life was all in on this one thing. You can't be all in on just one thing, right? Relationships, jobs, whatever. Enjoy your job, enjoy your relationships, give it all you got. And when things change, you have to hold it loosely. Be willing to change. That's the other thing, is most people just aren't willing to be uncomfortable. One of our leaders a few weeks ago made a statement that stuck with me. She said, humans automatically just seek comfort. So when we experience discomfort, we think something's wrong. God has forgotten me. This is not comfortable. This hurts. This sucks. Good. The only way you can advance in life is through hard things, right? Like at this point in my life, if you've worked with me, or if you're listening and you know me, you know, like I say this all the time to my team, like all the things you want in life are on the other side of hard. People run from hard and painful things because they're uncomfortable, and they don't realize that's the only way to get to where you actually want to be in life. The only way. There is no way to happiness, fulfillment, great relationships, a thriving life through easy, comfortable situations. There's no path. It doesn't exist. Right? I spend tons of time reading and studying and being infused with wisdom from successful people and people that are happy and that have done things. And, you know, a lot of us are on the personal development journey. So if you're in that, you know, the most successful people in the world in anything will tell you it's all hard. Relationships are hard. Business is hard. Being healthy is hard. Everything is hard. Every single thing. Breakups are hard. I can tell you that, right? Like everything is hard. But the problem is that we hold these things so tightly. We hold comfort so tightly. That's the number one thing we hold tightly. We hold our comfort so tightly. Then when we're going through struggles or difficult situations, a lot of times we feel like this isn't supposed to be happening. Like this isn't how it was supposed to be. And that's just a total lie that we've bought because we seek comfort. And so when things are not comfortable and they suck, we've convinced ourselves that that's not how things are supposed to be. when really it's most likely the opposite. There's probably massive amounts of learning and lessons that are going to get you to the next stage of life that you're just ignoring because you're so frustrated because it's not going the way you planned it. And it's understandable. I've been there a ton of times in my life. I don't have it all figured out still. But the more things go wrong in my life with my health, my relationships, my career's not exactly where I want it to be, all the things, the more I realize everything is just, there's tons of learning. There's tons of lessons everywhere. Everywhere. The best lessons are in the suck. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants to hear it. I don't like it, but it is the truth, right? The quicker you can move through the suck. We talk about this a lot in sales. When people get into sales, no one's good. It sucks at first. It's painful. It's hard. The quicker you can move through suck in life and condition yourself to be okay when it's not okay, the quicker you'll get more things you want in life. You have to be okay with not being okay. The problem is, again, people feel like, man, I feel like I'm stuck. Things aren't going my way. Nothing is working. And so they just get stuck there. What you have to do is be like, okay, what am I supposed to learn? How do I move through this quickly? The more you learn, the quicker you move through things that suck. Just a fact, right? The more you learn, the quicker you move through things that suck in life. But if you stay stuck and you don't try to learn and you're just stuck, you're never getting through it, right? People could live there for decades in the stuck. But it all goes back, I think, to holding this idea of what we wanted for our lives so tightly. My life looks nothing like I thought it would when I was, in my teenage years, early 20s. Nothing like it. Nothing like it. The mental images of 18, 19, 22, 23-year-old Kyle visioning his life a decade down the road, it looks nothing like it. But that's okay, because I don't get to choose all the plans for my life. If you believe that God has a plan for your life, it's probably different than your plan. I'm just telling you from experience. I've realized most of the plans I have for my life are not the plans that God has for my life, which is why my life looks more like what he wants it to look like and way less than what I want it to look like. I want it to look different still, and it doesn't. And that's okay. But I'm learning to exist more in the things I don't like, be aware of the lessons I'm supposed to learn, and move through the stuff that sucks. Again, relationships, health, your life's not where you want it to be. That sucks. I get it. But there's nothing you can do to create it into what you want. You have to move through it and find out what it's supposed to be. Right? Like, the sooner you can hold it looser and realize, first of all, the thing about the suck is it's not forever, right? People get in depressive states or, again, been there, and they think the suck is going to be forever. And that's just not how life works. Nothing good lasts forever. Nothing bad lasts forever. It's just a fact, right? Like, no one has ever lived in the same thing from 23 till 83. It doesn't happen like that. But your emotions tell you it's going to be like this forever. Nothing's ever going to change. I am doomed to this reality. And again, I've been there, but I look up and, like, all the bad things have come and gone, right? There's still bad things. There's still good things. Life is in flux always. But our emotions lie to us and tell us that this is how it's always going to be, or it's never going to be that. I'll never have this. I'll never have that. Or I'll always have this. That's not even reality, right? Like, that's not even from a spiritual perspective. Life just never stays the same. Our bodies are constantly evolving. Life is constantly evolving. Time is always ticking, right? Nothing's going to stay the same forever. But again, we have to hold things looser because life is always in flux. Most things don't go exactly according to our plans. God has different plans. And so if life is always in flux, the more you can hold things loosely and realize they're probably going to change and it's probably not going to look like you want it to look like, the more peace you'll have in your life. And I by no means want anyone to hear me say that I have achieved this. I am constantly working towards being more malleable in my life, and realizing that things are always changing, always evolving, constantly not going my way. And that's life. That's the struggle of life. Life is a struggle. Life has great things. It has horrible things and everything in between. So, like I tell my team in sales, right, you have highs and you have lows. the best people in sales and in life are the ones that learn to live in the middle. They don't get too excited about everything. They don't get too depressed or sad about the bad. They just learn to accept all of it. Because no one listening to this has not had good things happen in their life. Nobody. Even if you're in a tough position or a tough place in life, I feel for you. I know the dark seasons. I know the rough patches. But you have to remind yourself, you've also been through a lot of good things in your life. And if you can't think of those things, then I'll encourage you to talk to somebody, because there's a block there. No one has been through nothing good in life. There's not a person on earth that's never experienced something good, right? And it's a perspective game too, right? You're like, I really haven't. I mean, you woke up today. Like, the most basic things that we take for granted are good. Breath is good. Food is good. Life is good. Like, being alive is a good thing, right? So we have it really goes back to the whole holding things loosely is really just rooted in a perspective and a mindset, and it doesn't happen overnight, right? It doesn't happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight, and you'll never arrive anywhere to where you're like, I perfectly let everything wash over me, good and bad. I just am not affected. Impossible, not going to happen, right? I can't do it. You can't do it. No one's going to be perfect, but you can condition yourself to live more in the middle and to let things roll off you more easily, the good and the bad. But it's practice, right? Like, people want to just achieve things overnight. Again, we want comfort. And so we just want everything to be fixed overnight. And that's just not the reality. So my whole point here, going back to the beginning, is we hold things so tightly in life. But we have to realize that's just not how life works. Life is always changing, moving. And the looser we hold things and the more we're okay with change and things not going according to our plans, the more you'll be able to just enjoy your life, right? You won't enjoy everything, but from a high level, when you're less affected by change and you hold things looser, and you have something that just gets taken away from you, even if it's painful, you're more okay with it, because you know there's a plan and there's a reason. There's a reason for everything. If you don't believe that, I would love to talk more. There's a reason for everything. But what we want is comfort. And what comfort means is we understand all the reasons. And the reality is you don't get to understand all the reasons in life. You just don't. I know that's super frustrating. That's super disappointing to not know all the reasons for all the bad things in life and in the world. You just don't get to know. And the more you become okay with not knowing everything, not knowing all the reasons for the hard things, and just learning how to move through them, the better it gets. I'm not saying it's great all the time, right? I have good days and bad days still. I've been through things. I know people have been through a lot of things. But the sooner you learn how to move through the things and hold your desires looser, because there's good things that are coming your way that you actually weren't holding tightly or planning for, right? And there's things that you did plan for that are going away. So that's my soapbox for the day. I've been thinking about it a lot. I do think about it a lot. I try to keep it front of mind, because I know all the things I hold really tightly are not all going to go the way I planned, and they're all going to be here at some point, right? My relationships, my job, my desires, they're not all going to go the way I want. And so I'm trying to condition myself to hold things looser and really just surrender my outcomes and my life, the trajectory of my life to the Lord, right? What he wants is ultimately good for me. Whether I feel that or believe that or not doesn't change that, right? God wants what's best for us. And so the more we can surrender away our own desires and wants, the more we're going to be able to accept that he has good things for us, and we'll be able to see the good things. There's a lot of times good things that are happening and we just don't see them because we're not looking, because we're so stuck in the, I don't have all the things I want, or it's not going according to my plan, when right in front of you is a better plan. Yeah. And that's for me too. There's many times where I'm frustrated that things aren't going according to my plan, and I'll realize there's actually a better plan already happening. But it's a perspective game. It's a willingness to let go. A willingness to let go. And most of us struggle with that, myself included. So, overall, we need to have more of a willingness to let go, hold things looser. The looser you hold things in life, the more you'll be able to receive the other things that are coming that you didn't plan for. So, hope that was helpful. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening, supporting, and I'll be back next time with another episode of Inside the Mirror podcast. Adios.